we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. I'm your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast, hit us up on our DMs on the Bigmark podcast Instagram or on our X. You can always hit us up there. Let us know if you want to hear about a new episode or hear about a new topic or want to let me know about something or want to come on the podcast. Like I always say, please don't wait for me to ask you. I'd love for you to come on. I always want a new guest. Even if you're a complete stranger. I've never actually had someone I've only met on the podcast on yet. But that'd be fun. Again, thanks for taking the time to chill tonight. If you want to donate to the podcast, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. Again, you could be anywhere in the world, and you chose to be with us here now, in the here and now, tonight, tomorrow, the morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at. Thanks for being here. I'm looking forward to today's podcast because it's a part two. It's a part two, but it's a different type of continuation. You know, we're talking about the same kind of stuff, right? Like, you know, it's moving, man. People know about moving. People dread it. People love it. People do it more than they want. People do it less than they want. Some people grew up moving all the time. Some people, you know, never left their hometown, right? You know, there's so many different ways you can kind of even look at the concept, and we're not necessarily going to go too deep into it, but again, you know, you're not always necessarily going to be in the same place like forever, right? You know, we all wish we would be, and you know, people who own homes, and again, you know, that's a completely different topic of conversation these days. But the permanence of where you're going to stay, there's it's almost like a little game we kind of play, almost a trick where it's like, even if you know, like I remember back in university when I was living in places like, of course, temporarily, you know, it's fucking student home. You're not going to stay there forever, no doubt. But you still want to make it your own. You still want to put up all your posters, and you still want to move in as much as you can, right? Like, you know, you want to feel comfortable, and you want to be in your space, and you want to be in your new area, and you want to take all that stuff with you, right? But it's easier said than done in a lot of situations. You know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my grandparents moving to a whole new continent, right? Leaving Europe during the war and just after, and coming here to a new world where things weren't necessarily guaranteed, but a lot more prosperous and a lot safer than their current situation, right? So, you know, I have friends and loved ones who are thinking about leaving and going out west, you know, where the getting's good, Alberta, stuff like that, you know, because Ontario is pretty rough here where we are in Ontario. And again, you know, it's tough. Cost of living is brutes. You know, every business is struggling themselves too, so it's hard for them to dole out enough cash. You know, there's a National Post is releasing articles like, you know, the RCMP has a secret study that if Canadians realize how broke we are, you know, we're going to revolt. And it's like, well, what the fuck is that about, man? Like, what are we doing here? And like, I have no grounds to be talking about any of this politically. Like, I don't know what our financial situation fiscally is, you know, as a country, but like, again, you know, it's not a good scenario. It's not a good scenario. You know, I think a lot of things that were put in place with COVID and things like that haven't fully rebounded, and maybe we're still paying those prices somehow, but it can't be like this. It can't just keep inflating and inflating and inflating. And I mean, if that means all of a sudden we're going to hit a bubble and it's going to be a fucking Great Depression, that's another fucking thing too, right? Like, not super great. But again, I'm not really sure about the true financial course. I don't necessarily want to comment on that. But again, it's getting harder and harder to live, harder and harder to own a place, harder and harder to even rent a place. So I've been looking for, 1-bedroom apartment place for my own kind of thing. And it's been tough. It's been tough trying to find a place where I want to be. I wish I could have stayed downtown Hamilton, where I'm at now, where I got a bunch of my friends. And, I wish I could be down here proper, but it's only 10 more minutes into Hamilton. It's actually closer to the area that I grew up. And in, the place that I inevitably found. I guess I'm jumping ahead here, but in the hunt over the past couple months, you're not really seeing many places that are decent for under $1,500 a month. And that might not include utilities. That might even be partial utilities or full utilities. It's expensive out there, right? Like, let alone a 2-bedroom. And then of course, like when you're more downtown, it's going to be a little bit more expensive because that's just the way things go. And you pay for comfort, you pay for convenience, all that stuff, it's all part of that. But because I'm looking for a 1-bedroom, obviously my options are limited, but it would be an apartment building or, a part of a house, most likely. There's a lot of people who have either converted their houses or a floor of a home, or split a house into a few different units. And that's kind of what, that's what's available. And a lot of those basement units are too fucking small. Like, at my parents' old place, I was lucky enough that they let me build my room in the basement, and eventually the rest of the basement was finished. And it was an older home, but because it was like dirt floors originally, things probably kind of got compacted over the years, and just the way it was pretty tall down there. Like, I could stand tall down there comfortably, which again is pretty rare, especially for an older home. And, a lot of places didn't have really tall basements for a few reasons. They didn't expect a lot of people to be down in the basement a lot. And if they did, they expected them to be shorter, I guess. In the 40s or whenever these houses were built, on average, people weren't that tall. So anyway, going into a lot of these places, is kind of trials and tribulations, checking out these places. And, I'm looking after my parents' place right now, is where I'm at now, and they're moving back from Germany soon, and they want to do a bunch of renovations in the place. So I kind of want to get out while that happens, just so I'm not kind of living without a kitchen or living without a bathroom all of a sudden, and just all the mess and stuff that's associated with that too. But just like getting out of the way and easing the move too, because I can kind of like move some stuff into the garage potentially, or move some stuff around and not have to have everything out. A lot of times when we're moving, like I said, one of the classic trials and tribulations is your lease is up. That's the end of your lease. You're moving out of the place for whatever reason. They're tearing down the place. They're up in the rent, whatever reason. You got to boogie out of there. And you got to get all your stuff out of there on a certain date, or whatever, or there's penalties, or it's just not going to be a good time, right? Like even in university, like getting out of residence, like all that stuff, right? Like you have to there's that sense of urgency really, I think, adds a lot to the stress of moving, is like, you have to be out at this time. And again, luckily it's my parents' house, so I don't have to be back, because they're officially back in September, but I'm going to be out of here by June. So there's lots of time between then to kind of easily move some stuff. And like, I'm definitely not going to be able to fit everything I own into this place too. Again, I'm downsizing a little bit, which is good. I feel like I kind of need to do that, kind of get rid of some stuff. Hopefully sell a couple things on the old like Kijiji fucking marketplace. And again, keep things a little tighter, kind of pare down a little bit. I'm a kind of guy who's got a lot of knickknacks. I got a lot of stuff. As you can see in the studio here, this is somewhat of a representation of kind of like what my vibration is. So, I got a lot of different things, but, going into a smaller space, it's going to allow me to kind of, rethink some stuff and be like, all right, what's what. So anyway, in my journeys of trying to find a place, I've been to places where I couldn't stand up straight in the kitchen. Again, like I said, some of these smaller units are too short. And again, like I said, there's lots of basement units, but there's also lots of attic units available too, right? And I remember this one showing I'm doing, and I'm looking at places on Facebook. I'm looking up. There's an app called Zillow. This is where I'm finding all these listings, and I'm searching them up, getting in contact with random people. Some of them seem legit. Some of them are like, all right, clearly like you're the owner of the house and you're going to show it to me, which is jokes. And then some of them are like shown by realtors, right? Realtors out there showing rental units too. And I get in contact with this one real estate agent. She's sending me emails, and she responded to one of these ads on Zillow, I think, on that app. They don't sponsor the podcast, but check them out. They're pretty decent app for checking out rentals, and they have one for actual home buyers too, property buyers. But I ended up finding this ad for a place. This realtor gets a hold of me, and she sends me the email, and she sends me the first email she sends me, the subject line is the address of the place, just so we can know where we're talking. However, the problem is when she puts the subject line in the email, she neglects to put north or south on the address. So in Hamilton, people who don't know Hamilton, and like many streets and towns in the world, there's an east and a west, or north and a south of a lot of the streets in Hamilton. So King Street and Main Street, those are the two big like major arteries that run through Hamilton. I mean, there's Cannon and there's Berlin Street, but the two main ones, let's just say King and Main, there's a King Street East and a King Street West. Main Street East, Main Street West, and those are two very different things. If you're Main Street West, you could be as far as Dundas, almost like out of town in Hamilton. And then if you're Main Street West, or King Street East, I should say, or Main Street East, you could be all the way, again, almost in Stony Creek on the other end of the city. So, and there's a dividing line kind of right down the middle, and then north and south goes the same way. So the north in Hamilton is the water, the south is the escarpment. It's kind of the opposite of Toronto. But it's the same idea. Like if you don't really specify north or south, someone's going to the wrong address for sure. I grew up on 98, like on a street that was south, and there was a 98 of my street north. I just don't want to say it. I don't know. My mom still lives there. Shut up, Mom. But again, same idea. So she put the address, and anyone who knows Hamilton, it was on Wentworth. And again, very important, is it Wentworth North or Wentworth South? Super specific. We got to be super specific, because Wentworth South, kind of nice neighborhood, a little bit of a busier street, but it really quiets down on the very south end. Wentworth North is getting into the north end, getting pretty skanky, little sketchy, little hoodish, little Hamilton. But that's okay. I like a little grit. I grew up in a little grit, but if I had my way, I probably wouldn't choose this place. And I didn't. Sorry to spoil the end of the story, but she sends me these emails. We're corresponding. She doesn't necessarily mention north or south in the subject line, but anyway, she's like, hey, when do you want to set up a viewing? And I said, when's the next possible time? And she's like, oh, it's tenanted right now, so we just have to let the people know, and then we can go check it out. And I'm like, oh, sweet, this is awesome. She's like, how's Saturday morning sound? I'm like, sweet, let's do it. We jump in. I meet her there. Saturday morning, I shoot her a text, because her number's in the email, and I just shoot her a text, and I say, oh, shoot, is it north or south? I can't seem to find the ad. I couldn't find the ad at the time, so I can't seem to find the ad. Is it north or south? I can't remember. But anyway, I think I from memory, it was north. So I took a gamble, went north, gave her a call again. She didn't answer her phone again. So I'm already like kind of sketched out. I go to this address that I think it is. There's 4 people kind of like loitering around. And they look perfectly nice people. They weren't, they didn't look like, they weren't dangerous. They didn't look like vagrants or anything. But right across the street was Mission Services. So already a little bit sketchy. I'm like, okay, maybe not perfect. We go up, walk up the stairs. The realtor eventually comes and she's like, oh, hey, everybody. So now we're all going in to visit the space. So it's a group, which I didn't realize, which is like, all right, I guess. You got to show a bunch of people. You got to show a bunch of things. And I'm along for the ride. So let's go for it. So anyway, we go up to the thing. We all walk up together. She knocks on the door real loud. No answer. She's like, oh, she must have gone for a walk. I haven't heard from her this morning. She must have gone for a walk. Let's go up. I go up with a couple. There was like a couple, like a dude and a girl, and then two girls. And I went up with the dude and the woman, and we walked upstairs. And right away, I walked up and there was already like a super interesting vibe, kind of like this person hasn't done anything to really tidy up the place. I don't know if they're like, they just didn't care and they left, but whatever. And we're looking around and I look in the bathroom and there's still pee in the toilet. And all of a sudden another guy looks in the room and he's like, I think she's still in here. And I'm like, what? And then you can hear her kind of stir and she's like, and we're like, oh my God, what the fuck? And I tell the realtor, I'm like, yo, like, I think she's still in here. She goes and then she's talking to her and like, oh, she didn't know. So immediately the realtor's in there talking. I look to the couple. I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. I walk out of here. The realtor comes down. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's so embarrassing. I didn't realize she didn't know. She's not feeling well, all this stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy. Anyway, the place wasn't perfect anyway. I probably couldn't even fit in the bathroom door. It was like an attic space, so it was pretty low to begin with. So it wasn't really my jam. But that wasn't even the first place I saw. The first place I saw was this awesome little place. In fact, I actually have to duck to get into the front door. This awesome little place near, like kind of near the Gage Park, like around where the stadium is in Hamilton. I go into this little place, super quiet neighborhood, nice, that's like east end kind of thing, the gates of the east, let's just put it that way. It's not like fully, full east end, like is like kind of like Parkdale, but it's a pretty big area in Hamilton, let's just put it that way. It's kind of on the other side of central Hamilton. Really nice little area, quiet. Well, most of the time, there's probably going to be parts of the year where it gets pretty busy, being by the stadium and Gage Park, but that's going to be super fun. But I go into this little place and it's a lower unit, but at one part of the unit, like where the living room area is like 14-foot ceilings. So huge, big tall ceilings, super nice, super like there's a couple stairs in the place, like small kind of galley kitchen, but nice, like overlooks the rest of the unit. So I can like, while I'm like making shit, like I can kind of talk to people, which is going to be fucking super fun. In unit laundry, central air, nice little bathroom with a tub and shower, and like little nice little bedroom area. I don't think there's like a good closet, which is whatever, but like I get like a little armoire, or like set up some hangers like I used to do back in the olden days. And it's a lower unit, so there are stairs that go down, but the upper unit is like closed off up at the top. I don't know how the door works up there. I'm assuming, it stays closed. Fuck. I hope no one can just kind of walk into my unit, for fuck's sakes. But there's kind of like a little bit of a weird dead space, like where the stairs are. So I'm going to kind of wonder how I can use those. Maybe I can, get creative, and I'm sure I can't like block the stairs, obviously, but like I want to kind of maybe like put some hanging stuff, or like, who knows, see how much I can kind of get away with. But, obviously, the way I'm talking about it, I did get this unit, which is super exciting. I passed all the qualifications and stuff. But when I first saw the unit, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm so fucking, it literally was the first unit I saw in my whole like rental journey. And I was like, fuck, I wish this wasn't the first one I saw. Like, there's no way I'm going to get this spot. It's so nice. You know, there's probably going to be a million people trying to get it. Like, there's no chance, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, you're accepted. Like, here's all the different paperworks and do all that stuff. And immediately I was kind of like, oh shit, like, is this the one? Like, just because it was the first one I saw. And again, as you can tell, I've seen a lot of other places that were super disappointing. So it did really inform, like, that actually was a really good one, the first, even though it was the first one I saw. But again, I went along with the application process, had to ask some pretty diligent questions because they were kind of just like, all right, you're accepted, send over all the money and we'll get everything started. And it was like from like a do not reply. And I'm like, oh, whoa, hold on. Let me ask some questions here. Everything checks out. Everything's cool. Process is going on. Again, probably moving by the beginning of June. I'll be out of here. And you'll see a slightly different podcast area. We'll see. I don't know. I maybe I'll try to recreate this fucking shot for shot because it's nice. It fucking sits in here. The old fucking, the old set, as we call it. But we'll see. We'll see what the new space is going to allow. Might have to do a little bit more mobile setup. But that's going to be super fun. Again, I'm super excited to do it. So you might see some changes around here, but it's going to be really exciting. You know, the moving aspect, I did it for a little bit. I mentioned in the first part, you know, in the last moving episode I used to work for an international moving company. So I know what to do, but it still fucking sucks, you know, especially local moving, especially when you're moving your old stuff. As much as I say it's a blessing to be able to like kind of move my stuff slowly, that might draw out the process a little bit, but again, super looking forward to it. I'm excited now. You know, I was a little nervous. It's such a big move, but I'm excited to get out there and, you know, really make my space my own. And, you know, I've been living here and I've been so grateful. It's been amazing. But again, it's my parents' place and I want it to be nice. I want it to be ready for them too. So I've always, you know, felt like I'm kind of just like preparing this space with the intention of eventually getting out of here. So the day has come. Looking forward to it. Again, stay tuned. It might look a little bit different around here, but it's going to be awesome. Thank you all for listening. You guys are all the best. YouTube's, Patreon, Instagrams, X. Check us out. We love you. I love you. We all love you. This is it. We're all here together. Bigmark Podcast. Moving on up to the east side. To deluxe apartment in the basement. Peace out, everyone.